Silence. Before them stood not a reckless male cyclist. Before them stood a girl. And despite disheveled wet hair, soaked clothing, and raindrops sliding down her cheek, she stood proudly, upright, without a trace of fear, as if she were the one who held authority in this situation. Perhaps she was. "Hey, you!" one of them shouted, voice hoarse, soaked in alcohol and borrowed courage. "You got me wet. You're going to pay for that." The others erupted in laughter, rough, hollow, full of nothing. The girl watched them, quietly, drops still sliding down her face, but she cared about that as much as she cared about the rain itself. Then she spoke. "I see angry faces," she said in a voice that was unnervingly calm, almost friendly. "And now I finally understand why you're staring at me like that." She bowed her head, slow, controlled. "I apologize. I was racing through the rain and got a little carried away with my speed. I'm truly sorry." When she raised her head again, she was already upright. No fear, no hurry. She turned and headed toward the entrance. "Oh, my dear," she heard from behind her. "Just wait a moment." A hand grabbed her wrist, a rough grip, certain, possessive. The grip of someone not accustomed to being refused. An apology alone won't be enough. He began pulling her toward him. His other hand descended toward her body. But the wet jacket slid beneath his fingers, and he couldn't find what he was looking for. The girl didn't resist, didn't scream, didn't try to pull away. She simply stood there, head slightly bowed. But her blue eyes began to flash strangely. The brightness in them, that calm, almost pleasant light, disappeared. Something else took its place. Cold, precise, dangerously still, like the sea just before a storm when it goes smooth and dark and completely silent. That stillness unsettled the attacker more than anything else could have. Then it thundered. "Enough, let her go. Now!" Not a shout, not a plea. A command spoken in a voice that had no room for doubt. It cut through the jeering like a blade. The attacker's hand faltered and dropped. But the girl didn't step back. Her hands slowly clenched into fists. The weight of her body shifted almost imperceptibly forward. Anyone who knew how to read a body saw it clearly. She was preparing to attack. "Yeon!" The same voice again, now edged with impatience. "Come inside. You're late." Yeon extinguished that look, like a switch. She turned to the attacker and gave him a cold smile. Not the kind that offers friendship, the kind that makes a promise. "I hope we meet again," she said quietly. Then she stepped past him as if he weren't there and walked toward the large figure, filling the doorway like a wall. Her boss, the innkeeper. She nodded to him and disappeared inside. The innkeeper looked at the young men, that hidden smile he kept for special occasions. "Why are you glaring at me like that? You should be thanking me." "For what?" They gaped. "Our girl would have eaten you for dinner," he said calmly. "It was only just." He turned and went back inside. Yeon tidied herself up as best she could in the kitchen. A cloth, her face. Wet hair pulled back and pinned into a bun, carelessly, without a mirror, without particular concern for the result. Many strands remained around her face, disheveled and stuck to her skin. She looked as though the sea had spat her out onto the shore. But this caused her no trouble. Her features were unusual, the kind that are difficult to describe but impossible to overlook. Blue eyes, deep and slightly too dark for someone who had just been laughing, framed by long lashes. A delicate nose, red full lips, a complexion that existed somewhere between two worlds. Beneath loose jeans, long legs barely suggested themselves. Beneath a faded grey shirt, everything else. She appeared either unaware of her beauty or simply indifferent to it. Perhaps genuinely indifferent. She smiled briefly at Ha-un, who was already rushing between tables. Then she got to work. And there was work to be done. Trays, bottles, glasses, orders overlapping one another. She moved between tables with the precision of someone who knows every corner of a space. Every table, every chair, every guest who will order again before they've reached the bottom of their glass. But the strangest thing was this. The rowdy guests calmed down the moment they saw her nearby. Voices lowered, tones softened. Men who moments before had been loud and overbearing, certain the world owed them something, now sat upright and nodded politely. Either they respected her or they feared her. Yeon offered them a wide smile and sweet words that came so naturally, anyone who didn't know her would have taken them for genuine. Ha-gyun knew her, and Ha-gyun knew that smile wasn't her real one.